Neelam's Return, a spiritual tale of ghost love and redemption. In a slum beside an ancient city worn pale by time, lived a young man named Shahriyar. People called him the mechanic of shadows not because he was secretive, but because he often worked deep into the night, when the streets were lit only by flickering lamps and the chirp of crickets mingled with the sighs of broken engines. Shahriyar wasn't anyone special. He was poor. He lost his father early. He had 5 younger siblings and an aging mother still in mourning. Every morning before dawn, he left home without breakfast, walking through rusted fences and overgrown shrubs to the repair shop. There was no sign on the door, and the owner was infamous stingy and sour-tempered, so much so that even stray dogs gave the place a wide berth. But Shahriyar never complained. In his sunken, sleep-deprived eyes flickered a quiet light, the kind born from carrying a burden greater than survival itself, a belief that if he didn't give up, maybe, just maybe, things would change. He never refused any task, changing oil, scraping rust, sewing seat covers, even mopping the floor when the boss barked. Every coin he earned was a dinner for his siblings. But he never begged. Not until that night. That night, hunger had crossed the line. Their rice jar was empty. Shahriyar bowed before the boss and whispered, "Sir, could I please borrow a few coins? Just this once. I swear I'll work double tomorrow." The boss didn't even look up. "You already begged last week. I've docked your pay this month. Don't mistake me for a charity." Shahriyar lowered his head, swallowed his tears, and walked out quiet as always. But tonight, the cold bit deeper. The wind felt like it clawed at his skin. And the road home through the small forest and past the old graveyard carried a strange and eerie weight. There, in the ancient cemetery, beneath fog that clung like the last breath of incense, sat a lone car under the moonlight. Shahriyar froze. No one used this path at night, let alone stopped in the heart of a forgotten graveyard. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside the car. A girl. She wore a long black dress. Her hair flowed to her waist. Her eyes, wide and deep, seemed to hold an entire winter inside them. She stood there, fearless, like the cemetery itself had grown around her bones. "Could you help me?" she asked. "My car won't start." Her voice was soft as the wind and fragrant like a nameless flower Shahriyar had only smelled in dreams. He blinked. His heart skipped a beat. "I'm a mechanic," he said, steadying his voice. "Let me take a look." He didn't ask why she was here alone. He didn't ask how she could look so hauntingly beautiful. He simply worked, trying not to let his eyes rest on her face where moonlight spilled like white honey across her skin. Within minutes, the car roared back to life. She smiled and it felt like warm nectar poured straight into his spine. "Thank you. Do you want a ride home?" He hesitated. The road was long. He was exhausted. And she, though strange, radiated something not dangerous but profoundly sad. "Yes, if it's not a bother," he replied, avoiding her eyes. On the drive, her scent turned the air dreamlike. When they reached his alley, she handed him a bundle of money. "Your payment." "No, I can't accept that. I was just helping someone who needed help." She gave a sad smile. "But you need it?" And before he could refuse, she pushed the money into his hand and drove away, leaving behind a trail of fragrance like a whispered blessing. That night, Shahriyar placed the money into his mother's hand. She didn't ask. She simply cried, not for the money, but for the purity her son had preserved in the face of such cruel poverty. What Shahriyar didn't know was that from the moment he touched that girl's hand, His fate no longer belonged to this world. 3 days passed like gray clouds slipping over a leaky rooftop. Since the night he met the strange girl, Shahriyar noticed the world around him beginning to change, not with fireworks, but with the softest of shifts. The house felt warmer. His siblings' laughter sounded fuller. And his mother, for the first time in months, stared at the meal without sighing. When he asked her about it, she replied softly, "My son, since that night, I've been finding small stacks of money under your pillow each morning. I don't know who's leaving it. But maybe, heaven is watching." Shahriyar stood still. He hadn't done that. No one in the house could have. It felt as if an invisible hand, silent and tender, was holding them all up. On the fourth night, he left work late. The sky wasn't raining, but it was cold, like a blizzard had just swept through the soul of the city. As he walked past the cemetery and the silent woods, it felt like someone was calling his name. Then, that scent returned. Unmistakable. A scent not of this earth. A fragrance that made you forget where you were going, who you were, and what mattered in this life. Shahriyar stopped. Amid the tree branches tangled like dry bones she stood. Her hair darker than night. Her eyes soaked in sorrow. Her dress trailing like mist. You were waiting for me?" he asked, uncertain. She smiled. It wasn't a hopeful smile. Nor was it sad. It was the smile of a wound long healed over ancient skin. "You came. I knew you would." What's your name?" "Neelam." The name shattered into the air like an old spell. Like a stone falling into an ancient well. A sound that carried coldness with it. "Who are you, Neelam?" "I'm just someone with nowhere to go. But, if you like, I can take you to my home." Shahriyar didn't know what drew him in her eyes, her voice, or the perfume that wrapped around the road like a dream. He nodded like a man sleepwalking. She led him down unnamed turns. Across a dry stream with bones white stones. Through bushes that had died in a winter that never came. Finally, they arrived at a crumbling house, or rather, the ruins of what once might have been called a home. "This is your house." She didn't answer. Just nodded slowly. Eyes unblinking. "How can you live here? It's so cold. So dead." "I'm used to it. As long as someone listens to me, I'm not cold." A part of Shahriyar wanted to run. Every beat of his heart screamed that this place wasn't for the living. But Neelam's eyes held him, not with tears, but with something heavier, eternal loneliness. "Who are you really?" She remained silent. Then placed her hand over his chest. "Can you hear that? Your heart is beating. It means you're alive. But living without being understood, without being needed, is no different from death. Are you dead?" She shook her head. Then nodded. Then whispered, "I don't know where I belong anymore." That night, Shahriyar went home with questions knotted in his chest like tangled threads. But he told no one. Not even his mother. And under his pillow, more money. A few days later, he saw her again, this time in the rain. She held out an umbrella and said, "I knew you didn't have one. I've been waiting here since afternoon." She was soaked. Her eyes had lost their spark. But the scent, it lingered. He wanted to bring her home. But she shook her head. "I can't step into a place where the living are happy. I just want to watch from afar." He didn't understand. But something was growing inside him. something he'd never named before, a tender sorrow. If you're still watching this video and feel a sense of compassion for Neelam, please comment the number 7 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I truly encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Ever since that rainy night, Shahriyar began to notice something strange slipping into his daily rhythm, like an old song suddenly replayed on an instrument ever so slightly out of tune. His dreams grew chaotic. Neelam standing before a ruined temple, the moonlight slicing through her hair like silver blades, her eyes void of pupils, just two dark wells pulling in all light. Cats howled when he walked through the alley at night. His youngest sibling mumbled in his sleep, "She's so beautiful, but she casts no shadow." And yet, during this time, his family grew more comfortable. The kitchen no longer felt cold. Their clothes smelled of wildflowers. The money still appeared beneath his pillow each morning. His mother no longer questioned it, she began to accept it as a sacred blessing from heaven. One night, unable to bear the gnawing turmoil inside, Shahriyar left the house. He walked through the woods to the old cemetery where he had first met her. And just as his heart had whispered, Neelam was there. She was sitting on a moss-covered stone, her hair trailing to the ground, eyes gazing into the distance as if speaking with spirits in the wind. "I always know when you're coming," she said, without turning. "What are you?" he asked. "A spirit? A blessing? A curse? Or are you the one slowly taking my soul?" Neelam neither smiled nor flinched. She slowly stood, her dress sweeping the ground like mist. "I am no longer human, but not yet a demon. I am someone who was forgotten." Shahriyar clenched his fists, his heartbeat pounding like a funeral drum. "Where did you come from?" She pointed into the deeper forest, where an old path curved toward a cracked stone gate. "Tonight, if you have the courage, follow me. I will show you everything. In darkness, only those who dare to go deeper will understand where the light is born." Ksitigarbha Sutra, commentary on life, death, and rebirth. Shahriyar followed her like a man walking into his own grave. The stone gate creaked open with a sound like the earth weeping. Beyond it lay an ancient path, speckled with old blood stains, leading to a crumbling house. This time, he could see it more clearly, faint handprints smeared on the walls, whispers from the attic, and a single candle burning, upside down. Neelam guided him into the main room. Inside stood a shrine veiled in red cloth, a mirror that reflected no image, and a chest bound by sacred white thread, the kind used in soul-banishing rituals. "This is where I once lived," Neelam whispered. "Where I died. And where I've never been able to leave." Shahriyar stepped back. The scent of incense mixed with something acrid hit his nose and made him dizzy. "You really died?" "Half of me did. The other half was bound by a curse." She looked up at him. For the first time, her eyes were no longer soft. They were deep like a chasm and held fire. "I loved someone. Someone who betrayed me. He bound my soul to this house to steal my inheritance. I died in hatred. But when I met you, Shahriyar, I remembered what it meant to forgive." Neelam told her story, word by word, as if peeling it from her very bones. "I was once the only daughter of a wealthy merchant. I fell deeply in love with a man, who deceived me and took everything I had. My family died in a fire. I was left alone, mad, and hanged myself in this very room." But her soul did not disperse. Because before dying, she screamed a curse into the world. "Whoever has a heart like his I will pull into my dreams forever. Shahriyar shivered not from wind, but from the storm of memories now pouring over him like burning rain. But you're not like him, she said. You're the last light I still believe in. He didn't know what to say. He just stood there, his heart swaying. On one side an unthinkable truth. On the other a soul aching for love. Could he stay? Or should he run? Neelam looked at him for a long time, then said, "If you return tomorrow night, I will take you to the beginning of all this sorrow." That night, Shahriyar didn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring at stars veiled by clouds, holding the white thread Neelam had quietly tied around his wrist as he left the ruined house. The thread carried no scent, made no sound, but it felt like a tether between two worlds. His mother slept soundly, her face at peace. His younger siblings snuggled into their new pillows. Under his own pillow, more money. But Shahriyar no longer felt joy. Every coin felt like a hook tearing into his heart. What was the true price of this comfort? And what spirit was watching every sleep-filled breath inside this house? At exactly midnight, Shahriyar returned to the abandoned house. He brought nothing except his trembling hands and a heart full of questions. Neelam was waiting, standing beneath a half-broken tree, moonlight like a morning veil across her shoulders. "I knew you'd come back," she said. "Tonight, I'll show you the place where all suffering began." She led him down a path choked with thorns. A narrow ravine opened up, leading into a deep cave once called the Demon's Mouth by villagers. But tonight, it was simply a trembling crack in the earth, where unforgiven things still lingered. Inside, there were no bones. Only a shattered statue, half of it a woman's face, the other half clawed away, as if someone refused to see their own reflection. Beneath the statue lay a broken circle of red thread, and a wooden plank etched with ancient sutras faded to near nothingness, like time's own scar. "This is where the curse began," Neelam whispered. "He brought me here, made sacred vows before Buddha and the underworld, then vanished with everything. I went mad. I killed myself under a moon like tonight's." Shahriyar swallowed hard. The air in the cave felt like claws. Every word she spoke was a blade slicing into his soul. "I was never given a funeral. No one recited prayers for me. No incense. Just a death dry, severed, forgotten by love." Neelam turned to Shahriyar. "But now I have you," she whispered. "I no longer need revenge. I only want to be loved. To be called by a name that doesn't smell of blood." She stepped closer, her hands trembling, her eyes filled with something both desperate and tender. "If you say yes, I'll bind your soul to mine. You'll never suffer again. Your mother will live long. Your siblings will succeed. And you'll live forever with me." Inside Shahriyar, two forces clashed violently. One, the human part, longed to stay, to love, to dissolve into that strange warmth. The other, his essence, his instincts, the heart that had learned to endure, screamed, "This isn't love. This is disguised dependency. This is karma, unresolved." "You don't love me," he said gently. "You just need a replacement. And you chose me, because I didn't run." Neelam froze. She didn't cry, but her eyes lost their light. "You don't care for me." "I do. But care isn't chaining someone to your pain. You need to be set free, Neelam. Not held back." She stepped back, her entire body shaking. I can't go alone." Shahriyar folded his hands and closed his eyes. He began to chant a verse from the Ksitigarbha Sutra, the one he had often heard his mother recite during nearby funerals. Not perfect, not complete, but sincere. May all restless souls find the light. May those who remain not imprison, and those who depart no longer cling. The air split open with a subtle crack. Wind ceased. The moon dimmed. All sound vanished. There was only a soft exhale, and a silence as deep as death. Neelam stepped forward. For the first time, Shahriyar saw her not as a ghost, not as fog, but simply as a girl. No magic. No mist. Just someone who had once been unbearably alone. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not loving me out of fear." Then she vanished like a flower shattered into dust, dissolving into the moonlight spilling through the mountain crevice. If you're still watching this video and would like to offer a prayer for Neelam's soul to be at peace, please comment the number 1 below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do so and turn on the bell, so you don't miss a single story. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire. Shahriyar stepped out of the cave just as dawn broke. In his hand, the white thread remained, but it had faded to the color of ash. And from that day on, no more money appeared beneath his pillow. Only a quiet smile in his heart, and his mother's voice. "Son, last night I dreamt of a beautiful girl standing at the door, hands folded, bowing gently before she disappeared. I think I've seen her before." The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the weathered window, Shahriyar woke to an eerie stillness. No birds. No playful shouts from his siblings. Not even the smell of cooking smoke. He stepped out of his room. His mother sat still, her eyes staring into emptiness. His siblings huddled silently, knees to chest, neither laughing nor crying. Something had left the house. And it had taken the light with it. "Mom, is something wrong?" he asked softly. She turned her head toward him, eyes red. "Last night, after you slept, a girl came to the door. She didn't knock. She didn't speak. She just stood there like she came to say goodbye." Shahriyar swallowed hard. "Were you afraid?" "No," she replied. "I just felt sorry for her." Then she said something that made his skin crawl. Whoever she was still just a lost daughter. That whole day, Shahriyar worked in a daze. The repair shop was noisy. Customers crowded in. But he felt nothing like part of his soul had gone with Neelam, leaving behind only an empty cage in his chest. That evening, when he returned home, he found a small envelope slipped under the door. No one knew who had delivered it. No one saw anyone arrive. Inside was a faded piece of yellow paper, with delicate handwriting as thin as wind. Some souls do not wish for peace not because of hatred, but because they've never held someone's hand in true love. If one day, you feel alone, come back to the place of the broken tree. I can't promise I'll be waiting, but I've never gone too far. Neelam. Since that day, Shahriyar lived between two worlds. He never saw Neelam again. No more dreams. No more letters. No more fragrance. But every time he passed the forest path leading to the cemetery, he would glance to the right where the broken tree still stood, bare like a neck without a head. One evening, his youngest sister tugged at his sleeve. "Brother, last night I saw her. She came to my bed. She didn't say anything. But I knew she wasn't sad." "Were you scared?" he asked. "No, I just miss her." That answer was like a shard of mirror reflecting what he had yet to admit. Neelam had become part of their memory. Part of their family. Part of their blood. 3 months later, as winter crept onto the edges of the leaves, something strange happened. A stranger came to the repair shop and handed Shahriyar an old wooden box. No name. Just a strange symbol carved on top. "Someone asked me to give this to you," the man said. "A girl, though I don't think she exists anymore." Shahriyar opened the box. Inside was a broken silver bracelet, a lock of black hair tied with red thread, and a worn slip of parchment etched with a Pali prayer. "Sab Sata Bhavantu Sukhatata. May all beings be happy and liberated." And he understood. This wasn't a love letter. Nor an unfinished ballad. It was a prayer. A soul once tormented, had finally learned how to let go. That evening, Shahriyar walked to the broken tree with nothing in hand but the bracelet. He placed it gently at the tree's base, and bowed in silence. He didn't hope to see her again. He didn't need a miracle. He only needed to know. Somewhere in this world, a sorrow had been released. After the night he returned to the broken tree, Shahriyar thought he had closed the door on everything. The memories. The strange dreams. Even the feelings he once held for a soul who had finally found peace. He worked hard. Sent his siblings to school. Massaged his mother's feet every evening. Life was quiet, peaceful even. But inside him was a silence, like an empty cave waiting for an echo. It was the feeling that something was still unfinished. He didn't know what it was until the day a second stranger appeared. It was a damp and chilly morning. Shahriyar was under a car, wiping oil from the chassis, when he heard a soft voice. "Are you Shahriyar?" He looked up. An old man stood there, dark skin, white hair, rough cotton robe, barefoot, holding a wooden staff carved with the ancient symbol Om. "Yes, sir. I'm Shahriyar." "Who are you?" "I'm the keeper of memory." The words were so strange, Shahriyar thought he misheard. "I've come to return to you a piece of a past life." The old man explained. He was the caretaker of an ancient temple deep in the forest, where a tragedy occurred over 80 years ago. A young woman, betrayed and left to die by hanging, before she could marry the man she loved. That man bore the same name, Shahriyar. "Have you ever dreamed of things you've never lived?" he asked. "Yes. I once dreamed I stood before a temple, dressed in wedding clothes, and then I ran away." The old man nodded. "Because you are the reincarnation of that young man. You once vowed to love her. But at the last moment, you ran out of fear. The vow broke. Her soul could not ascend. And so, you've returned in this life, to meet her again." "Neelam?" Shahriyar whispered. "Yes. She didn't seek revenge. She only wanted one thing, to be acknowledged. To know she was once, truly loved." The old man handed Shahriyar a scroll, its edges yellowed with time. "If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer of this world. But I want you to know I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I won't let myself die twice over the same mistake. Thank you for coming back. And I'm sorry, for holding on to you with something I no longer had. If we meet in another life, let it not be in shadow. Let it be in sunlight. Neelam." Tears welled up in Shahriyar's eyes. He sat down, no longer heavy with guilt or sorrow, just a strange, deep lightness. As if the last mourning garment had finally fallen away. The old man nodded, watching the tears fall. "Now you understand. When a soul chooses forgiveness, both are freed. So, Do I still owe her anything? Shahriyar asked. Yes, the old man replied. A better life. Then he turned and walked away, saying no more, never looking back, vanishing into the crowd. That night, Shahriyar quietly went to the forest temple the old man had once watched over. He didn't beg. He didn't pray for miracles. He lit a single stick of incense, laid down a wildflower, her favorite kind, and whispered, "If there's another life, Neelam, live under the sunlight, not in my shadow." 2 years after the last day Shahriyar laid flowers before the old temple, everything had changed. His family prospered. His siblings excelled in school. His mother still chanted a verse from the Ksitigarbha Sutra every morning at her small altar. Shahriyar remained humble, quietly working, never speaking of the past, never promising love. But in his heart, Neelam had never left. Not as a yearning, but as a gentle silence. Like a final rest note at the end of a finished symphony. One Saturday morning, Shahriyar took his mother to the market to buy wedding fabric for his younger sister. While his mother haggled with the seller, he sat resting near a small tea stall. That's when he heard it. A silver bell. Very soft. Like the faint sound of a pile in a distant dream. Too familiar. He turned. A girl was browsing fabric at the stall across from him. Her hair thick, dark, naturally wavy. Her dress faded green under the early sunlight. But her eyes, those eyes stopped his heart. It wasn't Neelam. But it was the same gaze. The one that had watched him in 1,000 dreamscapes. The girl turned and met his eyes. Just a second. Then she gently nodded like someone greeting a memory from another life. "I'm sorry, have we met before?" she asked politely, her voice soft. Shahriyar's voice caught. I'm not sure. But I feel like I've been looking for you for a very long time. She smiled. A shy dimple emerged. A smile not entirely from this world. Her name was Serena, an art teacher. She grew up in a village near the ancient forest. She had once wandered into the temple ruins and felt, inexplicably, as if she were returning. "I once dreamt I died in a white dress," she told him. "Standing beneath a broken tree, waiting for someone." Shahriyar tightened his grip on the tea glass. A slight sweat formed on his brow. "And, did someone come?" "Yes. But he never entered the temple. He just stood far away. I woke up the moment he turned away." Shahriyar sat frozen. His heart cracked and healed again in just one moment. In the weeks that followed, they saw each other often. They sketched together in the park. Took his siblings to buy books. Visited her elderly mother in the hills. Serena wasn't Neelam. But she wasn't entirely someone else, either. She had unexplainable habits. She avoided passing the broken tree during rain. Always lit incense before sewing white dresses. And sometimes, she'd stare at Shahriyar for a long time and ask, "Do you ever feel like we never got to say goodbye?" One night, Shahriyar's mother had a dream not of a spirit, but of Neelam, reborn. She saw a small girl running through a field, dress dusted with earth, holding a violet wildflower. "Who are you?" she asked. The girl smiled. "I'm a forgiven memory." The next morning, she looked at Serena for a long time, then turned to her son and said, "My child, if you don't hold her hand this time, then in the next life, you'll spend it chasing someone with the same eyes, all over again." Everything began again, on the first full moon of the ghost wind season. A day when locals avoid graveyards, don't say the names of the dead, and never sit with their backs to the broken tree. But that night, Serena had a strange dream. She stood before a stone gate, her arm extended in waiting. On the other side was a shadow, part Shahriyar, part someone else. She called out, "You've arrived, a lifetime too late." But the shadow only bowed its head and faded into ash. Serena woke with a gasp, heart racing, her body freezing even beneath 3 blankets. And on her wrist where the bone meets skin, there was a faint red mark, as if someone had once held her hand too tightly. That very evening, Shahriyar found a handwritten note left by the door. "If you still want peace in this life, meet me before the full moon, at the broken tree." The keeper of memory. He knew, a new test was coming. His mother tried to dissuade him. Serena was worried. But Shahriyar had once run away. This time, he would not. They met beneath the rising moon. Shahriyar, Serena, and the old man in coarse robes, the temple keeper, the one who had once handed him the ancient scroll. "You think forgiveness is the end," the old man said. "No. Some karmic knots cannot be undone by tears or regret. Only by decisive action." "What do you mean?" Shahriyar asked. "A female soul still has not been returned to where she belongs. It's Neelam's fragmented spirit buried beneath the stone foundation of the ruined temple, where her body was trapped beneath the earth, lifetimes ago." Serena shivered. She gripped Shahriyar's hand, but her palm was ice cold. I remember now," she whispered. "I was lying there, alone, in the dark, waiting for someone, but no one came. Tonight," the old man said, "you both must return to the temple, open the old stone floor, and recite the liberation chant. But, if either of you hesitates or fears, neither will return." The temple had no roof. Moss covered its pillars. Bats screamed overhead. But as Shahriyar and Serena entered, the stone door to the crypt, sealed for decades, opened by itself. A cold wind rose from below, carrying with it a lullaby. A large stone slab lay at the center. On it a dried blood stain, shaped like a small hand. Serena stepped forward. Her trembling hand reached toward the mark. She sank to her knees. Without looking at Shahriyar, she said, "I know, you were the one who sealed the crypt. In another life. I didn't know. I was afraid. I thought you had died. No. You just didn't love enough to come back." The air thickened. The cold seeped into their bones. A voice whispered, from nowhere and everywhere, "If you fear the past, do not dream of the future." Shahriyar closed his eyes. He held the prayer beads his mother had given him. His hands shook with every bead. "Namo Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. May this lost soul be freed from suffering, delivered from the darkness, and reborn in peace." He chanted every syllable, every breath, as if bleeding his heart out word by word. Serena leaned her head onto his shoulder. Tears fell onto his hands, warm as fire. But not a fire that burned. A fire that purified. As the final verse left his lips, a white light burst through the temple's ruined ceiling. A faint figure rose from the stone slab, and nodded. Neelam. No anger. No sorrow. Only one last look. A farewell for them both. Then she turned and walked into the gate of light, where all forgiven souls leave their shadows behind. If you're still watching this video and wish for all souls to find peace, please comment the number 8 below. And if you haven't subscribed, I warmly invite you to do so and tap the bell so you never miss a story. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful tales to inform and inspire. The next morning, as the sun crested over the forest trees, Serena smiled a smile soft as a falling leaf. "I feel light," she said. "As if I've just been born again." Shahriyar held her hand. "We can't rewrite the past. But if we walk forward together, this present is enough to redeem 100 lifetimes." She nodded. And as they walked away from the ruined temple, the broken tree in the distance bloomed white flowers. For the first time in 4 generations. Early morning. Gray mist blanketed the forest like a silk shawl of dew. Shahriyar and Serena returned to the old temple, where 3 months earlier, they had freed Neelam's soul. This time, they carried no candles, no scrolls, no beads, only picks, bricks, shovels, and new planks of wood. "I think, if Neelam was trapped here for nearly a century," Serena said, eyes locked on the cold stone floor, "then there must be other souls still imprisoned somewhere." "Yes," Shahriyar agreed. "And if we can do something, then forgiveness alone isn't enough." They cleared the temple grounds, pulled moss from the stones, gathered rotten wood. Serena sketched the old temple's design from memory. Shahriyar scoured nearby towns for discarded tiles, and asked the village chief for permission, not to restore a place of worship, but to restore a place of remembrance. No one believed them at first, until the broken tree began to bloom white on every full moon, though no one had seen it green for over 100 years. The elders whispered, "Something has been opened." The young came to see. They stood in silence, then brought building materials, food, and prayers. The temple was rebuilt in 108 days. But no deity statue was installed. Only a single stone tablet remained, carved with one sentence: "Here, all souls shall be heard." At the center, a low square incense altar. Anyone who came could sit and speak the name of someone who had passed, whether in love, in pain, or long forgotten. Serena painted a blooming lotus on the temple ceiling rising from shattered rock. Shahriyar hung a wind chime made of salvaged bronze above the entryway, with a tiny inscription: "As long as someone remembers your name, you've never truly vanished." On the day of the inauguration, light rain fell. The wind blew but gently, without chill. An elderly woman arrived. She placed a faded black and white photograph on the altar, her eyes red with time. "He was the child I never got to hold. Back then, I couldn't afford a ceremony. I just hope he knows his mother never forgot." Serena took the woman's hand. She said nothing. Shahriyar lit incense, then sat beside her for a full hour in silence. A second person came, then a third. From that day on, the temple was never empty again. Shahriyar never saw himself as a priest, or preacher, or any kind of spiritual guide. He was just someone who listened. Serena never claimed to be enlightened. She was simply the one who lit candles, brewed tea, and gently wiped the dew from old photographs. But every night, when the wind stirred the chimes softly like a voice calling from afar, they both knew. Somewhere, Neelam was smiling. 1 year later, on the full moon night of the 7th lunar month, the Buddhist ghost festival, they held a special ceremony. The night of calling the departed by name. No chants. No rituals. Just a single candle, a name spoken, and one honest sentence: I remember you no matter who I was. That night, hundreds came. Some cried. Some smiled. Some stood in silence. And amidst the wind-laced darkness, Shahriyar whispered into the flame. Thank you, Neelam. Because of you, I've learned how to live without owing any soul a debt. 3 seasons had passed since the temple was rebuilt. Locals no longer called it the old place where souls were trapped. They called it by a new name. The House of the Remembered. It wasn't large. It wasn't ornate. No red banners. No fluttering flags. But through all 4 seasons, there was always incense. Always flowers. Always someone placing a hand over their heart. In stillness. One morning in March, with forest blossoms covering the mountain slope, Serena placed her hand gently on her belly. And smiled. She waited for Shahriyar on the temple porch, where the early wind always carried the scent of young mulberry leaves, and the soft tinkling of wind chimes. Love, she said. Yes, he asked. We're going to have a child. Shahriyar froze, as if his heart had paused, and begun beating again in a brand new rhythm. A new breath. A new life. That night, Serena dreamed. She stood in the old temple before it was restored. Broken roof. Cracked bricks. Pale moonlight. In the dark, a little girl sat folding paper flowers. Her eyes were deep as night. Who are you? Serena asked. I'm the one my mother forgave. And I've come back. To learn how to love from the very beginning. Serena woke in tears, her pillow wet. She placed her hand on her belly. The baby was gently kicking. As her pregnancy progressed, Serena's dreams grew more vivid. An old woman with a silver staff speaking in an ancient tongue. A room with an upside-down wind chime. And always, they ended with a lullaby echoing from far, far away. You don't need to remember who I was. Just love me as if I never did anything wrong. Soft rain fell. The broken tree beside the temple grew a strange new branch. Its flowers white, tinged with ash gray. Like twilight falling into a nameless river. Serena gave birth in the small room beside the temple. A baby girl. Eyes dark as ink. Hair thick and soft. But when she smiled, the dimples were exactly like Shahriyar's. Her mother held her close. Didn't ask questions. Didn't doubt. She only whispered. If you were once Neelam, then you've learned how to return. And if you're not, I will still love you. As the first soul ever to walk into my life. When the child turned 49 days old, they gave her a name. Anaya, one who is unbound. That day, the entire village came to the temple for a blessing. No pomp. No drums. Just open arms. A stick of incense. And one short prayer. May every child born come into this world free of old shadows. And as Shahriyar stood at the temple doorway, cradling his daughter, Serena leaned her head on his shoulder. They heard the wind chime stir, as if someone far away was smiling again. You didn't turn away this time. And now, I've come back. Right on time. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share one thing this story taught you, and how you'll carry that into your life. Your words truly matter. Reading your reflections gives us strength and inspiration. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep crafting stories that uplift, inspire, and heal. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you in the next video.